half. There might not be too much of a contest left in this game.
The hosts had more than enough of the ball tonight. No wonder they are winning. Sometimes you can have the ball and not be able to do anything with it, but this side have been quite the opposite. So creative and so clinical so far.
Oh, he's through. He's in now. Top performance from the top team, and they've emphasised their superiority with the number of goals that they've scored.
He's upsetting himself, the goalkeeper, having got a touch on it.
You can see a slightly different viewpoint on it.
Oh, he's loving it, the manager. He's seeing his team playing really well, just what he was asking for.
Well, we're underway again, and you just wonder how many more they can get today. Read that well with the interception. This is risky. Defender's done well here to clear the danger. Chance for the cross. Here's Hakimi. And Phillips. Now it's Ashraf Hakimi. Chance! Keeper back into play. Now they've got the ball, what are they going to do with it?
All right. We got ourselves an epic show right now because Eddie Hearn just signed Tom Aspinall to Matchroom Management. Not Matchroom Promotions. Matchroom Management, to be exact. Now, why is that significant? Obviously, in the recent times, Eddie Hearn lost his client, one of his fighters, to Dana White, Conor Benn. Signed to ZUFFA Boxing, only to find out he got $15 million, to which Dana White was not able to match that. I'm sorry, Eddie Hearn was not able to match that, was not able to match Dana White for $15 million. And then on top of that, not only was he not able to match that, he was also distraught by the fact that he lost what he considers a best friend in Conor Benn. So Conor Benn goes to the UFC or ZUFFA Boxing, And what does Eddie Hearn do in retaliation? He goes and signs Tom Aspinall to a management deal in Matchroom. Now, let me tell you why that's very significant, okay? This is very significant because I need you to understand something. Number one, a lot of the managers in the UFC, especially managers that have a ton of fighters in their roster, they're not actual real managers. What they are brokers. They are brokers for the UFC. Now, they're managers because, let's be honest about it, they have the title of manager, but that's as far as it goes. But in reality, the majority of UFC managers, okay, sorry about that. Had a little bit of some issue there. Let me make sure that I don't have any issues here with my okay, so Case says hello. Oh my God, really? Yes, you are the best. Thank you. He says I like your shirt. Let me know what part of the world you are from, my man. Let me know what part of the world you are from and what brings you here and all of that. So we're going to get this thing started real quick. Let me just make sure I got everything going here. Okay, good. We got everything going here. Okay, perfect. So here's the reality that you guys have to understand about Matchroom Sports, okay? This is something that you have to understand about Matchroom, and in particular, the kind of deal that they have going on, okay? So, looking for this conversation that I said to my friend that sort of explains everything, right? So a friend of mine on social media, he said something to the effect of, which, by the way, this is a common question a lot of you are going to ask, okay? So Aspinall, the UFC heavyweight champion, is now with Eddie Hearn, but he's also still with the UFC. So Eddie Hearn is involved in the UFC now in some way? Or has Tom Aspinall changed over to boxing? He's very confused. I'm sure many of you are confused about this whole entire process, right? Well, this is my answer to that. It's a management deal, okay? I need you to understand that all UFC fighters have management deals with a manager that is independent of the UFC. Okay, they can range from sports agents, lawyers, or just the fighter's homie from the gym. Okay, now in Aspinall's case, it's Eddie Hearn. And it's Eddie Hearn in his own management a company aside from his promotions, but has the same name. Now, the funnier this sounds to you, the more that you understand that this is Eddie Hearn's MO, okay? So what that means is that, well, every fight and matchmaking session involving the heavyweight champion of the world, which is the UFC, okay, that means it would have to go through Eddie Hearn. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's just going through Eddie Hearn. It is also going through, let's say, the lawyers of Eddie Hearn. So it's not necessarily Eddie Hearn that is directly involved. However, it is Eddie Hearn and his name behind it. Brad Pitbull says, what up, Kyrie? Shout out to Brad Pitbull, man. How are you, my man? My fellow Sacramento guy, man. Shout out to you. And here's another thing you got to understand, okay? Weird thing about this, now Matchroom has a heavyweight champion once again, okay? But it's not Matchroom Promotions. Once again, it is Matchroom Management. Still Matchroom. Oh boy, okay? Eddie said you want to play games, huh? So here's a couple of some games that I'm going to play here as well. I'm going to be involved with your champion. By the way, your undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, a guy that you tried to screw over based on an injury that he had going on. So guess what? I'm going to go and help him. This is Eddie Hearn saying this, at least in a proverbial sense of him saying this. So here's a game, okay? He now has two companies, one fight promotion, and the second is a fight management that just happens to have the same name, okay? Matchroom Talent Agency, Matchroom Boxing Promotions, Matchroom Boxing Promotions has nothing to do with Tom Aspinall, but Matchroom Sports Talent Management has all to do with Tom Aspinall, okay? And it just so happens they have the same name. Either way, it's not illegal. Yeah, this is the game that is being played right now with Eddie Hearn and Dana White. That is the reality of what you are seeing here. So, with that in mind, the one thing that you got to understand is that I told you these guys are spiteful rich people. Okay? This is what spiteful rich people do. Now, here's the thing, though. Dana White is in a completely different level than, let's say, Eddie Hearn right now. Okay? Because not only does he have the backing of Turki El-Sheikh behind him, but he also has the backing of TKO. And by the way, there is a reason why Turki El-Sheikh has managed to sort of side with Dana White on this one. Because he is dealing with a much more powerful entity between them, okay? He is dealing with UFC. They are a proven product. Not to say that Eddie Hearn is not a proven product, but because the UFC is signed to Endeavor, this makes them a much more, well, lucrative company, okay? He says, I can tell this guy's racist when in boxing. I said, I can tell this guy's racist when in boxing. I don't understand what you mean by that. What do you mean by I can tell this guy is a racist when in boxing? That doesn't make any sense. You have to elaborate a little bit better for me to understand exactly what you're saying and where you're coming from so that I can further elaborate your question or your statement. Okay, and I believe your name is Udo YB. So if that is what you have going on, please let me know what is your, he says, you're a racist fan. I'm a race fan, or are you saying I'm a racist fan? I don't understand what you're saying. What exactly are you saying in that? You have to elaborate. Look, you don't have a very good grammar, my man. He says, you hate black fighters. You're an idiot. You're an absolute idiot. Okay? You don't know anything about me. You don't know anything about me from a can of paint, okay? I think the reason why you're saying that is because, well, I think that you're probably watching the stream right now and you're thinking, all right, you know, I talk very square. I talk like I, you know, went to an Ivy League college. And on top of that, it sort of like draws this, you know, stereotype in your head. And then you're probably foundational black American, right? Which I have no problem with people like that, but I'm just telling you like what you are and your worldview of things, right? You're also one of these people that likes to sort of point out any little thing that is considered racist, or I don't know, man, you don't know me from a can of paint. You know what? You would be surprised how many certain people hate me, if you know what I mean, right? People the opposite of you, you know what I mean, right? People the opposite of you have no idea how much they hate me. I happen to be an Arab man who, I mean, I don't know, man. You would have to watch my whole entire channel and the history of my channel to sort of understand. He says, you just proved my point. Well, what is your point exactly? Your point is that you are a low IQ racist who has no nuances of understanding gray lines, nor do you even take a time to educate yourself on understanding who the person is and what it is that I stand for in the first place. So what exactly do you mean by you just proved my point? Right? I already told you what you are. I know what you are. I know what you're about. You're an FBA. I told you I don't have a problem with guys like that. I don't have a problem with people like that. In fact, I have a problem with maybe the opposite of people like that. But at the same time, man, listen, you also would be surprised to find out that, well, I don't know, man. I'm not here to give you my whole history on who I am or what. You would just have to watch what I got going on. He says, are you glad Crockett lost? Crockett, who is that exactly? You'd have to explain to me who that is. David O'Malia. But you proved no point whatsoever, Yodi. You're very low IQ. I think that you like to jump to conclusions. And also, I think that I don't know, man. I think there's just something, really, completely wrong with you to, kind of throw jackets at people like that. Jasmine Crockett, who is that? I don't know who that is. You got to understand, I only understand MMA and boxing and fighting sports, right? I don't watch any other sports. I don't watch basketball. I don't watch football. I don't watch baseball or anything like that. I just know fighting. That's all that I know. And I know that Yudu is an idiot because, he's trying to put me in a box without even, like, trying to figure me out. He just comes in here, oh, you hate black fighters. So, oh, we're supposed to just, like, somehow, bow down to that. Okay, okay, she's a politician. Okay, what is she running for and what state and also what position? Let me know a little bit of some context behind that. So, everybody on the chat that's in here, please, go and go and clown Yodi because he has no idea. He says, so tell me, this is why you do Hopper so much hate against Devin Haney and other black fighters. You idiot. You freaking idiot. You freaking idiot. Do you realize that I'm tied in with the rapper Jacka and A1, right? Who, by the way, his uncle and his manager is tied in to Bill Haney. Bill Haney is a Muslim. Devin Haney is a Muslim. What in God's name do you think that I would go against Devin Haney for? Okay, so you said, so tell me this. Tell me this. Okay, you don't even have any a comma or apostrophe or anything here. He's like, so tell me this. Why do you hopper so much against Devin Haney? You expect me to read that? Like, you can't even type, bro. You don't even have any good typing skills. Like, you're a moron. You can't even type properly. I mean, come on, let me try to read this, right? So tell me this. You should put a comma right there, okay? A little grammar lesson for your dumbass. Why do you hopper so much hate against Devin Haney? Hopper. What is a hopper? What is a hopper? What do you mean? Why do you hopper so much hate? Do you mean to say, why do I harbor so much hate against Devin Haney? I don't. I don't have any hate against Devin Haney or other black fighters, okay? For one, I rooted for Terrence Crawford openly. Okay, a lot of people thought that I was crazy for rooting, against Terrence Crawford. It's not my fault. You are nothing more than an insecure black supremacist. That's not my fault, bro. That ain't my fault. That ain't my fault that you just, jump into conclusions that you got nothing going on and that you just say these things just for the sake of feeling better about yourself and just repeating a regurgitated rhetoric that you do. He says, are you the new Ayatollah? No, I am not. I'm actually a Sunni. So, I can't be the Ayatollah in any kind of way, Derek Vineyard. So, he said, David O'Malia says, remember I asked you who is dumber, Crockett, AOC, or Kamala? You said AOC go. Oh, yes. Okay. Sorry. I lost my my thought there for a second. Okay, so yeah, once again, he says you can't read well, but you can't even read what he's saying. Look at this. Bro, listen, you're making the FBA dudes look bad right now, bro. You're really making a lot of the FBA dudes looking bad right now. You're looking bad right now. You can't spell, you can't write properly, you can't communicate properly, and that's the reason why your dumbass jumps into conclusion. So, once again, try this again. Try again with your statement. Look, I'm not banning you. I'm not getting rid of you. I'm really trying to, have a civil discourse with you, right? I'm sure you're a cool dude. I'm sure that, you have some, interesting ideas. I'm sure that you can contribute plenty of knowledge to the chat. But right now, man, you're looking really bad by just jumping into conclusions. So try again. Right? I don't understand how you could just come into a channel and say, oh, you're hating on black fighters. Where have I ever hated on black fighters? And when have you even watched my channel to even see that? And at what point? All you mention here is Devin Haney, but you forget that I'm also tied in with people that know Devin Haney. And then you have nothing to say at this point because I'm just pointing all my attention to you, and you can't stand it. I'm literally pointing all my attention to you, you B-Doe, whatever your name is. Okay, you Doe, whatever your name is, you Doe YB, whatever the F, right? I'm giving you all the attention in the world right now, and you can't say anything. Ahmed Daly says, what's going on? What's going on is there's this guy in the chat named you Doe YB, and he just came in here out of nowhere, you know, with no reason whatsoever, just says, you hating on black fighters. When have I done that? I barely cover boxing. I'm an MMA guy, but all the boxing people that I root for are mostly black dudes. Terrence Crawford, I rooted for him. I have rooted against Deontay Wilder, and you're probably not going to like to hear that because you think that Deontay Wilder is your god because you have, you know, what do you call it? One of these, you know, god complexes that you got going on like him. You know, you're an FBA broke idiot, okay, who doesn't even have $5,000 in their bank account, has their check engine lights on. On top of that, you got debt high up to the ceiling. You probably got underlying health issues to which you can't attend to because you can't afford insurance. So there you go. He says, bro, it's a classic victim behavior. Ignore it. No, I'm not going to ignore it. I'm not going to ignore it until David, until you Doe over here, you know, has a response to that. Because I've literally responded to everything that he said, all the accusations that he said that are absolutely baseless. And not on top of that, he's just absolutely, you're right, it's not worth my time because he's actually kind of taken me away from, you know, talking about the Tom Aspinall and the Eddie Hearn situation. Although I did talk about it very early on, I did mention that this is a management deal and not a promotional deal, and it is only a way to spite Dana White as it goes, right? That is the reality of the situation. But you're right, it's not worth my time. Iron Mike Chandler, he says, yo, you good, brother? What's going on? Man, first time I seen you here. I know you're probably not the real Michael Chandler, but very interesting nickname nonetheless. Some dude in here just came in here and accused me of saying that I hate black fighters. Okay, what a dumb statement. Do you understand, you Doe? Do you understand? I'm tied in with a black gang. You understand that, right? And then you come in here and you say that, oh, I hate black fighters or this and that. I'm like, well, what kind of dumb statement is that? Bro, like you what? Did you think that you just came into like some pro-white boxing channel or something? Like, I don't know what you think I am, bro, but that's what's going on. So I had to go and really, you know, rip, you know, this guy into shreds. But now he has nothing to say. I'm not even banning him. I'm not even, you know, erasing any of his comments. You can scroll up and read his comment right there. You Doe YB. So I want everybody in here right now to go and smash on this dude. He says, God told me to tell you that he loves you and keep up the good work, my brother. Man, thank you, Michael Hodges. I mean, I don't know if Allah really told you that. I highly doubt it, but yeah, thank you. Thank you nonetheless, right? You know, although I can't accept the idea that Allah actually told you that because, you know, we just have a different belief in what Allah is willing to say and do to, you know, another human being. And I don't know, but thank you. I think you you have the right sentiment, but I just think that that's antiquatedly, you know, against my belief as a Muslim, and it's just my responsibility to tell you that. I'm sure you love God. I love God. We all love God. Alhamdulillah. Allahu Akbar. I'm done smashing on you, Doe, unless he has something else to say, which he doesn't have anything else to say, because I just smashed him to pieces for coming in here and telling me, oh, you hate on black fighters. You hate on black fighters. I'm like, and then he mentions Devin Haney, which is really dumb of him to bring up, because little does he know, Devin Haney, okay, is tied in with a rapper homie of mine in the Bay Area with the name A1, who raps with the Jacker, the late Jacker. Okay, they are all Muslim guys, and that's it. He says, Young Base Sega 10-7. I absolutely 10-7 Yo Doe over here, man. Yo Doe, whatever your name is, you Doe. How about this? You got no dough, okay? Because You don't got $5,000 in your bank account. You got your check engine lights on your car. On top of that, you got debt high up to the ceiling. You got underlying health issues that you can't attend to because you can't afford insurance. 10-7, you're gone, up out of here, down for the 10 count, tapped out, and all of that, submitted, just like what Khabib did to Conor. You're gone and up out of here, just like that. Biatch! Allahu Akbar! Boom, boom! Up out of here with your bitch-ass FBA wannabe punk ass. All right, so there it is, guys. That is it. That is it right there. So, all right, back to Eddie Hearn signing Tom Aspinall. He says young base. He says underlining health issues, Joe Rogan. Oh! He says point down for the last second and max KO him. There it is, man. So how does it feel, you doe? You just got embarrassed by everybody in the world for making a baseless statement. I'm not here, bro, let me tell you something, bro. I'm not one of these white boys that you punk on a daily basis, right? I'm not one of these white boys that, you know, kneels down on the floor when they see a bunch of black Israelites and say, oh, you are a colonizer, you are an oppressor, so therefore you have to get down on your knees and kiss me on my feet. Nah, bro, you're dealing with a real one, bro. You're dealing with a real one. You don't know who you're dealing with. You know what I mean? And look, I'm sure that if I met you in person, you're probably a cool dude. I'm sure that we would get along well, right? I'm not here, you know, to threaten you or anything like that because, you know, I think I'm a little bit more mature and past that now. I can no longer do that because, let's be honest, right? The chances of us meeting, unless you're in California, and you better pray to God you're not in California, bro. Because if you are in California, okay, let me remind you what happens in California, okay? Pop Smoke, PNB Rock, Notorious B.I.G. Okay? You want me to continue on with the names? How about that guy that played Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? I think you know exactly what I'm talking about, bro. I come from a state that does this to people from out of this state, okay? And this is out of this world. I'm going to take you out of this world. If we ever met in California, you never ever want to speak to me or ever try to ruin my reputation like that ever again in your life, especially making baseless accusations like that. Never in your life make those baseless accusations against me again. He says taking him to the deep waters now. That's right, man. You have no idea what type of mental warfare I could place upon you. What type of physical warfare I have placed upon you. Look, I know you're not a YouTuber, okay? So in that sense, you're a civilian, okay? You're a civilian. Let me tell you what happened to the last YouTuber that I got into it with, all right? Smack TV. This guy tried to do the same thing that you did. You know what he did? He tried to accuse me of saying that I went after his black king, Jay-Z, okay? Because a couple of months ago, during the time of when Joaquin Buckley had fought Colby Covington, it was, you know, right around that time, right? I made a video about saying that Jay-Z was a pedophile. You know what he said? He told me to take it down because he said that Jay-Z is a black king. Jay-Z, you know, employs black people. Jay-Z is this, Jay-Z that. Jay-Z this, get off Jay-Z. Ooh, get off that, okay? So guess what happened? He told me he wants to meet up. So I did. I told him, hey, let's meet up. Long story short, you want to know how bad this beef got? We're talking about real life. This is a Sacramento dude. You want to know how bad this beef got? His wife left him and went and left the United States and moved back to Japan because she was scared for her life. You understand? You understand how real this is? So you better hope you don't live in California. Because if you do, you know what happens when people come visit California, okay? I'm going back to Cali. You know what? Biggie Smalls died listening to that song. You understand? Titus said, what even happened? A guy came in here and accused me of saying that I hate black fighters in boxing, which is stupid. And then he went and literally mentioned one black fighter that I actually am a fan of. and that I'm a supporter of, and I have some homies of mine that are tied in with Devin Haney. I never met Devin Haney, but, you know, I have some homies that are tied in with him, so it's impossible for me to even hate Devin Haney. He says, this story doesn't seem real, by the way. It's real. This is public record. This is a reality that happened to this guy. He says, is California safe for friendly visitors? Of course it is, man. Of course it is. You know, obviously, Biggie Smalls was a different case. You know, he was tied into gang warfare with Tupac and the Mob Pirus. And you know that P. Diddy was tied in with some Compton Crips. It's a different story. Pop Smoke, okay, New York rapper, comes in here, you know, was staying at his Airbnb up in the Hollywood Hills. Guess what? A bunch of Hoover Crips rolled up to his place, shot him dead for trying to fight back during a home invasion. You know, that's what happens out here in California. So, anyways, he says, at Great Titus, someone said okay, yeah, you're explaining to him what happened. He said, oh, so he called you a racist pretty much. Yes, and so I went and destroyed him for that. And look, I'm not even blocking him, right? You know I be blocking people in here for saying, you know, the wildest stuff, right? I be blocking people here for saying stuff about, you know, X, Y, and Z. You know, oh, your beard this or this, that. You're a terrorist this or this and that, right? I block people for all types of things, right? I gave that guy an opportunity to speak. I gave that guy an opportunity to say what it is that he wanted to say, and now he's not even saying anything because he got 10-7 and he knows that he just, you know, got embarrassed in front of everybody here. And by the way, I need you to understand something, right? I know people in the Bay Area that can track IP addresses. In the words of Yoel Romero, see you soon, boy. Okay? See you soon. Anyways, yes, had to get that out right there. So, yeah, anyways, guys, how's everyone doing? Says, so, who you got in Las Vegas in the main event this weekend? I got Max Holloway. Yeah, I got Max Holloway this weekend, my man. He says, Young Base Sega says, Charles is one of my favorite of all time. I think that he's going to lose. I got to have more faith in the GOAT. Who's the GOAT that you're referring to, Charles or Holloway? Now, look, the reason why I'm rooting for Holloway, right, is because I think that Holloway has very good boxing. I think that this is where this fight is going to take place. And I also think that he's going to have a hard time taking him down. Now, will there be a chance that this fight even, you know, hits the floor in any kind of capacity, right? Sure. There's a great chance. He says, do Bronx by submission. He is a finisher. Okay, well, the only way that I can see that happening, right, is within this possibility, right? I see it as Charles following him to the ground and not necessarily taking him down. The problem is, I don't see a world where Charles can rock Max Holloway, put his lights out, or threaten him in that kind of way. Max losers to the best. Max losers to the best. What do you mean by that? Please elaborate. Young Base Sega says, do Bronx doesn't need to get to the ground to finish. He's a master finisher in a backpack choke. You know what, man? Young Base Sega, I almost didn't think about that, but that is a very good point, man. That is absolutely a good point. That is absolutely a good point. Will he allow him to get there? He says Max doesn't beat the best. Oh, okay, gotcha, okay. Max doesn't beat the best. You're right about that, okay. You're right, man. What are we talking about here? Volkanovski, he didn't beat him. Conor McGregor, when Conor McGregor was, really, in his prime, he wasn't able to beat him. Iron Michael Chandler says, if Charles loses, do you think he will face an up-and-coming prospect? Hopefully, they don't do him like Dariush. I think that is exactly where he's going to be. You're absolutely right about that. That is exactly what they're going to do. They're going to try to match him up in that kind of direction or give him some fun fights. Obviously, Conor McGregor is somewhere in the wins, right? A possibility of him, fighting someone like that. That is a great possibility. But I think this is Max's fight to win. I know. I see and understand what Drizzy Goat is saying. It makes sense, right? Max, doesn't beat the, top guys. Does Ilya versus Holloway 2 at 155 make sense? Does Ilya and Holloway... No, it doesn't. Only because... No, you know what? Hold on. I gotta stop and think about that for a second. It does make sense, right? Because if Max was to beat Charles Oliveira here, right, then it would make sense. Now, for example, if let's say Ilia Topuria, for whatever reason, becomes the backup, weigh-in guy, right? He weighs in to become the backup fighter, and let's say they fight. It wouldn't make sense, right? Because it's like Max didn't really earn this fight for to be in there with Ilia Topuria. Obviously, Ilia Topuria is a champion. I don't know what in the world would make him, let's say, a backup fighter, but yeah. He says, Charles doesn't move his head enough, and Max throws long combinations. Scary matchup. Charles doesn't move his head enough, correct? And I think that's the problem where a lot of this jab is going to come in, right? But either way, man, yes, you're right. Max throws a lot of long combinations, which is where I think he's going to get caught at. So you're absolutely right about that. So Charles doesn't also move his head around a lot, so that's going to be a serious problem. All right, so let's get back to this, heavyweight situation with Tom Aspinall, right? So Tom Aspinall, okay, has a new representation, and it's Eddie Hearn. Okay, now the stunning news was announced this Thursday, today, okay, after Aspinall teased that he was going back to business. Now, what did he mean by that when he tweeted that? I'm going back to business. We thought maybe the White House. I know Alex Pereira is right out there saying that he vacated the title because that is the clear indication that he's going to move up to fight at heavyweight. But what did Tom mean when he was saying that he's going back to business as he boarded a flight? He was boarding a flight, okay? And it turns out he was traveling to Monaco. Out of all places, he travels to Monaco to ink this deal with Eddie Hearn, okay? And now he's going to serve as his agent, which seemingly escalates the ongoing war between Matchroom Boxing and ZUFFA Boxing, okay? Or UFC as well as, as it is known, okay? So here it is. Eddie Hearn says, welcome to the team, UFC heavyweight champ Tom Aspinall. Okay, this is what he wrote on his Instagram. And then he said, it's time to get yours. Okay, now what does he mean by that when he says it's time to get yours? Okay, so here is Tom Aspinall flying into Monaco right here. Oh, what's going on? Nothing? Okay, that's him flying into Monaco. And then that's him and Eddie Hearn right there. All right, so let's see here. Young Base says, I'll bet it will end up as another Ngannou situation, maybe. Iron Mike Chandler says, Ilya versus anybody at 155 division doesn't make sense, especially if the next fight isn't Arman. Islam versus Ilya would be the biggest, most meaningful fight of all time when it comes to GOAT status. Okay. Billy says, what are your thoughts on the end of pay-per-view, and how do you feel about the White House card announcement Saturday? Wow, okay, so they're going to announce it Saturday, huh? I think that's the perfect time to announce that fight, because if you think about it, the Charles Oliveira and Max Holloway fight is a hardcore fans fight, right? So a lot of the casuals are not really going to be tapped in on it. Okay, well, now that Dana White has announced that he's going to do it on Saturday night, brilliant, brilliant marketing strategy. You lure people into the fight with Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira, and then you make the announcement because obviously it's a highly anticipated event that everybody knows about, right? So it's a brilliant, genius idea, UFC style promotion at best. I like it. I like it very much. What are my thoughts on the end of the pay-per-view era? I think that they are starting to catch on with the reality that streaming online is a problem. And it's very easy to access. But here's the thing. They also know that when you stream illegally online, you can easily lose your connections at any God-given time. Okay? Out of nowhere, it pauses. Out of nowhere, when there's a sequence of things going on in the fight, you might miss it because your screen freezes or this and that, and then you got to pull up different tabs on different streams. You got Meth Stream, you got Stream East, you got Buff Stream, you got VIP Box, you got VIP League. I mean, should I go on and on? You guys know, all the OGs that stream fights, you guys know, right? Even till this day, I stream fights. But guess what? If I want to have a preventative measure of doing that, why not just go to Paramount, right? And they know that. So it is a very genius idea for them to take up this offer of ending pay-per-view altogether. Because quite frankly, they know that the pay-per-views are not adding up. I want you to know how bad pay-per-views are, right? When Anderson Silva boxed Jake Paul, you know what the number was? 30,000. That's right. 30,000 pay-per-view buys for an Anderson Silva Jake Paul fight. You understand? Like, I want you to think about that. You're talking about Anderson Silva and Jake Paul, and yet this is what they generated. Okay? So they lost money out of that because they had to pay Silva, they had to pay the whole entire event, and on top of that, if you remember, there were a few times where they had to, have, fight cancellations. So, they had to do what they, anyways, that's MVP. But what about the UFC, right? They know they have the same problem. So now they went with a company that was willing to invest in them, Paramount. And as a result of that investment, they decided, hey, this is what we're going to offer you. 43 fights a year. And we're going to try to give you the best fights possible. But little do they know, when they mean the best fights possible, they mean the best fights with the most entertaining guys, and the most entertaining guys that are willing to scrap but are not necessarily the most boring guys that are trying to be the best, which is indicative of the style and matchmaking that they're doing. Not only the style and matchmaking that they're doing, but also the type of athletes that they are releasing and the type of athletes that they are keeping in the process. So, Billy, I hope that answers your question. Very good question, by the way. A long-winded answer with your long-winded question as well to match with it. So I hope that answers everything for you. Iron Mike Chandler says, do you like the new edition where they announce upcoming fights during the fight cards? Yes. I like it because it gives you something to look forward to other than the fights. Okay, the fights are there. The fights are great. But it gives it a WWE feeling to it. And that is indicative of the fact that they come from the organization of TKO, which, by the way, is heavily invested in, in the WWE and the UFC now. So that's that. So, all right. So, moving on with this. Okay, so following the news of the signing, right? Aspinall released a video explaining his decision to team up with Hearn and a new talent agency. He says, will you be live reacting on Fight Night? Yes, I will. Thank you for that question. And that is actually a very good question. And here's my announcement to that. I will be live this Saturday for UFC 326, live, brought to you right here with Kyrie Abu El-Kheer MMA, the most epic mixed martial arts channel in the world. The channel that reminds you you don't have $5,000 in your bank account. The channel that reminds you got your check engine lights on. The channel that tells you you got your debt high up to the ceiling, underlying health issues and you can't afford for your health care because America is in absolute shambles right now while we are going into World War III. Yeah! That's what I'm talking about. So yes, we will be live for the fights. He says yes, so I will be here for the upcoming fights, yes. Yes, so on fire right now, he says, you know, W fire, yes, W fire, shout out to you on that. So, okay, back to the Tom Aspinall situation, right? He says, yo, I'll definitely donate when I can, man. This channel is amazing. Keep it up. Thank you so much, Iron Mike Chandler. And you know what? You are amazing, man. You know, great screen name. I know you're not the real Michael Chandler. A part of me almost wishes that you're the real Michael Chandler, but I get it. You know, you're a big MMA fan, and you probably have a reason to. Yeah, he says, you're like, you're live like all day. What are you doing with your life? Let me tell you something, right? I am financially secure with my life. I've done things to put me in a financial secure situation to which you probably have not done. Or if you have done that, well, then I don't know you from a can of paint. You just asked me to call you Justin. So Justin, let me explain something to you. I am in a financially secure position in my life where, by the way, this is during Ramadan. And here's the thing, right? A lot of Muslims don't practice the Islamic faith correctly only because they have to work in an environment of the West where they have to miss Friday prayers, right? I don't have to miss Friday prayers, okay? I don't have to miss a day of Ramadan. I don't have to worry about waking up in, you know, weird hours of the day just to, but put it like this, right? I'm no different than anybody. I'm sure, you know, I have, you know, a steady stream of income like everybody else. The thing is, I'm just also very private with my life. I don't tell people what I do or what I have going on. All that people know is that, you know, my real name, which is that I've fought before, and that's all that really people know about me. Other than other things that don't need to be public, I don't disclose, because whenever you have something good, okay, a lot of people reveal too much of the good of what they have going on, and as a, you know, result of that, you know, they tend to ruin it. He says, do you work out or go to the gym? Oh boy, do I work out or go to the gym. You should see my workout sessions in this, you know, in this live stream. You know, I am, you know, a real high-level athlete, okay? I sled push about 400 to 500 pounds. I jump boxes like this high, and I do crazy, you know, conditioning drills that a lot of people have seen on this live stream before. Yeah, I definitely work out, my man. But yes, I do all of that. And, you know, shout out to you, man. You know, us seems to, you know, be of a different audience, or maybe you've been an audience of mine. This is just the first time, you know, you're seeing me in here. He says, I bet you hit like Mark Hunt, brother. Well, yeah, I mean, you know, it's crazy you made the Mark Hunt comparison. You know, probably because, you know, we both have like, you know, really big heads, you know, or something like that. Maybe that's, you know, where you sort of got that comparison from. But, you know, shout out to you. Daily Sam says, when is Sergey Pavlovich fighting? That's a good question, man. When is he fighting? Let's see. As early of 26, there is no official scheduled date for him right now. He says, you mind giving a quick flex of your arm? A flex of my, what is it? Okay, sure, yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, this is a weird thing to ask, but, you know, listen, let me show you a little example. Do I work out? Yeah, do I work out? Look. I'm going to show you guys a little something, okay?
watch what you say, and the things that you see. Every distance in the world for the words that you speak. If I ever rule the earth, there are things I would teach. Live a life to the fullest for the strongest, not the weak. Cause I'm a rise, slip and slide. Where, nigga, nigga to the other side. With them niggas laying dead at. I've been waiting so long, begging my payback. And I bang that, niggas talking all that shit. But I hold your tongue, all that dick, niggas starting, niggas time gon' come. So hold your gun, nigga. All that ass get popped, and we gon' double back, nigga. If your boy don't stop, get toe tag. It was capping on song, starting shit you can't handle, nigga. Now your family outside, I ain't handles, nigga. Yeah, watch what you say, and the things that you see. Every distance in the world, for the words that you speak. If I ever rule the earth, there are things I would teach. Live a life to the fullest, for the strongest, not the weak. Gotta watch what you say, and the things that you see. Every distance in the world, for the words that you speak. If I ever rule the earth, there are things I would teach. Live a life to the fullest, for the strongest, not the weak. Let the niggas try, but the lies in broad daytime. Niggas mama cry, cause he died up on the main line. We name a young G, I'ma die like a soldier. Stay away from all the leeches, and what your mama told you. These bullets snatch your souls at the doors like a thief. We found this location like a cheater on the creek. But hold your eyes open, don't turn to dust up in the dark. Can't see who the shooter from smoke when it's sparks. Can't blame nobody, cause your ass cause it all. Now death takes its course when Satan starts to call. But a tough nigga speaking, get this niggas hurt. You wanting all the drama, now your ass up in the dirt. So watch what you say, for the things that you see. Every distance in the world, for the words that you speak. If I ever rule the earth, there are things I would teach. Live a life to the fullest, for the strongest, not the weak. Gotta watch what you say, and the things that you see. Every distance in the world, for the words that you speak. If I ever rule the earth, there are things I would teach. Live a life to the fullest, for the strongest, not the weak. Not the weak, not the weak.
I'm a violent man. I am a violent man. I am a violent man. I am a violent man. He says, Michael, when's your next fight? I don't think that's the real Michael Chandler. Yeah, I don't think that's the real Michael Chandler. He says, Kamzat still needs an opponent, brother. I love Kamzat, bro. I love Kamzat. That is the homie, bro. That is the homie. But yeah, man, that is what I'm all about right there. You know what I mean? I'm all about West Coast gangster rap, violence, and getting down for mine. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. Shout out to everybody that he says, Kyrie, are you gonna fight in the future, brother? I'm 40 years old, man. I'm I'm not yeah, I've fought before. I've won an amateur Muay Thai title before. I've fought MMA. He says, you got a good jab. Thank you, man. Thank you for that. I try to work a lot on some boxing as well. So so yeah, man. That's it. That's what I'm about, guys. I like West Coast gangster rap and and all of that. So he says, yeah, man. So, okay, going back to this Tom Aspinall thing, right? I don't want to, digress into this. He says, I'm trying to fight amateur, brother, at 125. Oh, okay, so you're 125. He says, you got any videos of your fights to show us? Let me see here. Got a couple of pictures of my fights. Let me see here. I fought on the same card as Fluffy Hernandez back in 2012, right? I actually got into it with his opponent backstage. But let me, yeah, it's, so I did this Muay Thai fight right here. This was back in 2011. I need that guy, and this was an MMA fight that I had back in 2012. So, wait, no, that's not me. But yeah, this is me right here, and then this is me. So, these are, two of, some little samples of, my fights right here. So, let's see what else here. What else? Oh, yeah, and I trained with Uriah as well. Uriah Faber. Where's that picture of me and Uriah Faber at? Hold on a second here. Yeah, right here. So, there's a couple of, he says, yeah, it takes balls to step in the cage. Yup. There's the cage, and then there's the ring. So this is how he reacted after that knee. I broke this guy's ribs, by the way, in that fight, right? This is how, oh, that's me winning the amateur, kickboxing, title right there. 2010, 170-pound division. He says, have you seen or texted Fluffy since? We don't really talk like that, but, I did talk to him, that day, the fight. That's me and Uriah, 2011. That was his UFC debut, 1 week before his UFC debut, where he was going to fly out to New Jersey. That's the same card that John Jones had competed in, right? So, yeah. Yep. Yep, that's how he broke his ribs after that one right there. So, yeah, I had one more MMA fight. That was a no contest. That one that I fought right there with Fluffy. He kicked me while I was going for a takedown, and then I got kicked with both knees on the ground. So it was ruled a no contest. But I did pretty good. That was one MMA fight, and then in amateur Muay Thai, I have a record of like 5-0 amateur Muay Thai. So that's pretty much my my record in that. He says, speaking of Fluffy, what do you think about the stuff Strickland was saying about his coach? Well, you know what? I'm glad that you asked me that, right? Look, I don't know about his coach, right? But what I do know is that this is very prominent in the world of MMA. I think that it is very prominent in the world of MMA where people, sort of, do this all the time, right? They do this all the time. They, yeah. There's a lot of grooming that goes on in gyms. That's what I will say, right? Rose, obviously is, a good example of that. Although one can only suspect, right? There's also a lot of affairs that go on in jiu-jitsu gyms as well, which, is another thing, to, sort of, oh, wait, hold on. Yes, had to respond to one of my boys right now. He's sending me a link of Ariel Helwani, talking about the Eddie Hearn situation, and I'm like, well, I literally am talking about it right now. So, come tap in, I suppose. You know what I mean? He says, that's amazing, man. Have you fought or been to Thailand before? To visit, not to fight, but yeah, to visit, sure. I've been to the Philippines as well, so. Yeah, man, just some real interesting stuff. Well, hold on a second. I'm getting a phone call real quick. Hold on real quick, okay? Stay put. Okay, just making sure I... All right, just hold on. Just making sure my volume is good right here. Okay. Okay, how's the volume going right now? Okay, how's the okay, a little choppy right now. It's a little bit choppy, the thing right now. All right, let's get back to it. Let's make sure this is going good right now. Okay, we're back at it. We're back. Let's get back to it. Okay, that's the volume, I guess. So that's as best as we could do. Plus CW. Okay, what is that? Okay. All right, let's hear what Ariel Helwani had to say here real quick. Let me just go through this real quick, and then.
What's going on, brother?
Okay. Hello, guys. Yes, I am in the car. I'm trying to figure out how to. It's tough to do the 3-box handy on this one. I don't know where I am.
There we go.
Okay, yeah, hook me up with this. I just got out of box.
Okay, so Iron Michael Chandler says, you believe Eddie Hearn will get Tom Aspinall the respect he deserves. I tell you what, right? Eddie Hearn is an amazing promoter, right? So if Dana White is not going to do his job as a promoter, I think it is incumbent upon Eddie Hearn to do that part, because I've never heard a promoter that trashes their fighter like that. But then again, Dana White is a unique kind of promoter where they have to promote in a way that is sort of, in line with the brand being more supreme than the actual athlete in of itself. So it's kind of one of them things.
Training.
All right, listen, guys, I'm gonna have to go soon because I do have prayer for Ramadan coming up, but we will react to this, shortly for with Ariel Hawani talking about Tom Aspinall signing with Eddie Hearn.
As you guys know, I'm working on. Yeah, so here are the raps right here.
Okay, Ariel.
Competition. I'm really looking forward to working together and exploring some exciting opportunities as I continue my journey back to the cage. Eddie Hearn will be joined by Tom Aspinall at an exclusive press conference taking place in central London, Friday, March 6th at 2 p.m. GMT. If my math is correct, that's 9 a.m.
That's tomorrow. That's tomorrow. They're going to have a press conference. All right, let's hear what they have to say about this.
Eastern. Further details will be shared in due course. So there you have it. Now, we've heard all this now. We've read all this.
Oh my God. So Dana White is actually on the Piers Morgan. Okay, are we back? Let's make sure we're back for this one. Okay, are we back? Okay, we're back. Okay, we're back. We're back. Okay, back to Ariel Hawani. Okay.
My understanding is Andy is obviously still part of the team. Andy Aspinall, coach, but also, of course, the man who has been, negotiating his deal.
All right, guys. So breaking news. Tom Aspinall will have a press conference tomorrow morning or whatever time it will be for Matchroom Sports. And then, by the way, Dana White is in the Piers Morgan show right now, right? So what about now? Can you hear me now? Make sure we're back for this one. No audio. There's an audio going on right now. Are you sure? Going on right now. We're back. Are you sure? Yeah, the audio's on, my man, Tooth Buds. I think you're capping. The audio is on. I'm literally playing it on another computer right now. Tooth Buds. I think you're... Yeah, I'm literally playing it right now. The audio is on. All right, back to Ariel Hawani.
And has guided, he has guided Tom throughout. Here's what's really interesting about all this. As you guys know, the UFC is the sport, for all intents and purposes. I have known many managers over the years that the UFC hasn't left. And the UFC has said, we're not talking to this guy. So you either figure it out or get someone else. You put someone else in front of us, get another manager, or we're going through you. There are times where the UFC calls up fighters and says, we're not talking to your manager. So if you want this fight, you want this deal, you're going to have to talk to us. There's no system in place here. There is no set standard in place. Old school fans may remember the likes of Ken Pavia, who the UFC essentially said, we're not talking to you anymore. We don't like you. So basically what ended up happening is all his fighters ended up jumping ship. There'll be the flip side of that where the UFC will be like, we like this guy. And you know the ones that I'm talking about.
When he says, you know the ones that we're talking about, he's talking about Ali Abdelaziz. Ali Abdelaziz, yeah! Ali Abdelaziz! That's who he's talking about right there. So, yeah, man, that's exactly who he's talking about right there. But yes, the UFC has to like you in order to do business with you. And guess what? Putting Tom Aspinall with Eddie Hearn, you're just doing another, anti-Ali Abdelaziz situation, right? The opposite of Ali Abdelaziz. And at one point, I actually called Ali Abdelaziz the Eddie Hearn of MMA.
Sign with him and we'll give you a deal.
If you were sexually abused while at school...
Ooh. Oh, no. Yeah, no. Okay.
Hawani, who just found out as well. Ariel, what's going on, brother?
Opportunities as I continue my... no system in place here. There is no set standard in place. Old school fans may remember the likes of Ken Pavia, who the UFC essentially said, like, we're not talking to you anymore. We don't like you. So basically what ended up happening is all his fighters ended up jumping ship. There'll be the flip side of that where the UFC will be like, we like this guy, and you know the ones that I'm talking about, go sign with him and we'll give you a deal, or we'll talk to them, or we'll negotiate with them, but we don't like this guy, so don't bring this guy to the meeting. I know of a meeting very recently where the UFC met with someone and they're like, manager, stay outside. It's just you and I. Just you and I. So, like, we can go gaga here and say, like, wow, this is crazy, but I want to see how this actually plays out, because the UFC...
All right, well, now let's hear what Dana White had to say.
Pussy than Eddie Hearn?
He was quite upset.
Is there a bigger...
This is the Piers Morgan show, by the way, and you know I love Piers Morgan, bro. You know, he asks the right questions, and this is great, man. You know, he's been doing a great job with all the panels that he had going on with, you know, the Iran situation. You know, one of my favorite episodes that Piers Morgan did was with Suge Knight, right? Suge Knight was sitting there basically telling Piers Morgan all these gay stories of P. Diddy, and Piers Morgan had to sit there with his, you know, nonchalant face, like trying not to laugh as Suge Knight was describing all these gay situations that that he had going on.
Pussy than Eddie Hearn?
There's been a lot of pussy talk this week, Dana.
He's oh man, Piers Morgan said a lot of pussy talk. Dana, what's going on?
The biggest animal in world sport.
Listen, if Eddie wants to box, we can box.
If it actually happened, who would win? Would you be confident? What is the state of play with Tom?
Tom and I obviously need to talk.
What do you think of what is happening at the moment with Iran? Do you have a view about it?
Not anything that I would talk about publicly. Donald Trump is a very good friend of mine. I was just with him last week again, and he's hilarious.
Speculation.
All right, let's
Can you give me the scoop? FC into a global juggernaut, making some very powerful friends and some powerful enemies along the way. He's now bringing his unique brand of strategic shock therapy.
all right, let's run through this real quick. Let's hear this.
That's their relationship, but I don't know what...
Warren, obviously, full disclosure, another long-time friend of mine. I've known him a long time, Frank. He says he's considering legal action against you and your company, TKO, and against Seller, Turkey Al-Sheikh's company. What is your reaction to that potential legal action? And on a sort of wider scale, is your mission, if you're honest, to wipe these guys out? Do you want to completely dominate world boxing in a way that doesn't leave room for people like Frank Warren or Eddie Hearn to operate in the way that they used to?
Let me ask you a question. And I like the Warrens. You haven't heard me say anything about them. Always been nice guys. Anytime I've ever, you know, dealt with them, they haven't come out and really said anything. Sue me. Sue me for what? I mean, I'm in the business just like they're in the business. What have I done other than compete to be sued by the Warrens? They haven't messed with any of their fighters that are under contract or tried to steal anybody or do anything like that, and we won't to any of the promoters. I'm in here to compete. I mean, all the sanctioning organizations are going crazy. Eddie Hearn absolutely lost his mind. You know, the Warrens haven't said anything, and you know, but they're talking about legal action. You know, I don't know what they have, you know, think they have with Turkey Al-Sheikh. You know, that's their relationship, but I don't know what I have done.
All right, so fair enough. Look, here's the thing that you got to understand about Frank Warren, right? He goes and sues people for the most minuscule things, right? Ask any journalist, ask any other fighter, ask anybody in the business. He sues everybody, all right? Let's skip over a little bit and hear what he has to say here.
If you or a loved one have...
Okay, man, what is up with this? You know, so, little dodgy ads right here going on. All right, here we go.
You and asked you about kind of life lessons. It's really interesting because you talked about that you had some of the happiest moments of your life when you were broke.
All right, well, I did do a reaction of that earlier, that viral video that he had going on. I talked about, is money really important, right? That is the last live stream that I did. Go check that out later.
You see where their parents work, and you know,
more divisive in that sense, I guess, than Donald Trump. You and I have been friends of his for a couple of decades, and we've seen the good, bad, and ugly of him, and he's a unique character. As my daughter put it, he's almost too unique, but he's someone we've known very well for a long time. If you say you're a friend of Donald Trump, as you've discovered and I discover, there's a lot of people that instantly that puts their shackles up. They hate you. They want to judge you for it. And I've seen families break down over this, relationships, friendships, work colleagues all falling out over Trump. Politics generally, but particularly Trump. You must get that all the time because you speak out in support of him. How do you deal with that? What's your view of that?
It's a fascinating thing because I have a lot of relationships, obviously, with people who are very conservative, but I have really good relationships with people who are very liberal, too. Back when we grew up, you didn't talk about religion or politics. Now I think these things have changed everything. So
yeah.
He's pointing at the iPhone when he said these things have changed everything.
It's just, it's a different world we live in, but I'm not as political as everybody thinks I am. So when I'm around, I don't really talk a lot of politics.
Look, I believe him. When Dana White says he's not that political, I believe him, right? Okay, but Lowell, let's get back to the Tom Aspinall thing real quick.
So that you offered Conor Benn $15 million for one fight. Can you confirm that?
I cannot.
Because it's not true, or because you don't want to talk about it?
Yeah. Eddie Hearn had him under contract. Eddie Hearn, when his contract was up, Eddie Hearn has the right to match and has the right to negotiate.
There you go. And he didn't match or negotiate with him as a result of that. So
I'll tell you what, you and I will obviously talk again in the future. When we talk a year from now, let's see how well his brand's looking in America.
I mean, are you guys, Frank Warren, obviously, full disclosure, excellent pieces of...
Everybody wants to watch it. Think about this. So when I got into this, you were just 5, Channel 8 and 13 will exist again, but globally. I'm a big believer in building your own channels out there, and our YouTube channel has over 4 million subscribers for Power Slap, and growing. So
Floyd Mayweather getting back in with Manny Pacquiao, whatever it may be, and they say, look, these aren't real fights. These are like entertainment bouts, purely for entertainment. And because they make such...
All right, so I mean, I'm just kind of skipping around the Aspinall situation with the Pierce Morgan and Dana White conversation. I mean, you guys could watch that on your own, but yeah, let's hear what Ariel Helwani had to say here.
We're not talking to you. It's not like there will be... Now, Tom could then say, well, if you're not talking to him, you're not talking to me. There's going to be a game of chicken here. Tom's not a free agent. He's the champion. We know how long it is to get out of a contract. We also know about him wanting to box and starting in boxing. But we have to understand how the system works. In the NFL, if a general manager wants to sign a player, they have to deal with his representation. If they don't like that guy, tough luck. You have to talk to him.
All right, and I think we'll conclude it right there. Yes, tough luck. You have to talk to him. That is the name of the game right now. So now Eddie Hearn is in this managerial contract with Tom Aspinall. What's going to happen? Will this complicate relationships between UFC and Tom Aspinall? Sure, it will. But rest assured and understand, it's just going to be business as usual. Okay? And welcome to the drama and the soap opera of the UFC, as it always has, and it will always will be. All right, and with that in mind, guys, I really have to go for prayer right now. Thank you for all those that have tapped in, all the new subscribers, all the new listeners, and all the new supporters of the channel. And for the haters out there, keep hating as well, because you only help to grow the channel as much as the supporters do as well. And with that in mind, don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one.